Washington, D.C., 1985. Inside the secure offices of the CIA's Counterintelligence Division, a veteran officer walks into Langley with a briefcase, and a plan that would alter the course of espionage history. His name, Aldrich Ames. A 44-year-old CIA officer with access to the most sensitive information about US operations against the Soviet Union. He had clearance. He had experience. He had trust. And yet, he had something else. Debt. Bitterness. And a willingness to sell everything he knew. A man of the system, Aldrich Ames was no rookie. He had worked for the CIA since 1962. Over the years, he developed deep knowledge of Soviet assets, their weaknesses, and, most importantly, the identities of spies recruited by the United States within the USSR. He was the man in charge of knowing who the enemy was. Ironically, he was about to become that very enemy himself. Despite his professional record, Ames was struggling. His personal life was collapsing under the weight of failed marriages, heavy alcohol use, and mounting credit card debt. His second wife, a sharp, stylish Colombian woman named Rosario, expected a lifestyle far beyond his CIA salary. And that pressure cracked him. The first contact in April 1985, Ames walked into the Soviet embassy in Washington, unannounced. No disguise? No fake name. Just a simple, deliberate offer: I'm a CIA officer with valuable information. I want to sell it. The KGB was skeptical at first. But then, he gave them names. Real names. CIA moles inside the Soviet military and intelligence services. Within weeks, Soviet counterintelligence teams moved. Within months, several high-level US spies in Moscow were arrested. Some were executed. Others simply disappeared. The damage was swift and irreversible. Payment in blood money. Ames didn't just betray secrets. He did it for cash, and lots of it. The Soviets paid him over $2.5 million, making him one of the most highly paid foreign agents in KGB history. With the money, Ames bought a $540,000 house in Arlington, a luxury Jaguar sedan, designer clothes and expensive vacations, jewelry, wine, and renovations, and yet, he never triggered alarms. Why? Because he was one of them. A familiar face. A colleague at lunch. A man whose badge opened every door. Internal damage, a silent collapse that CIA didn't realize what was happening, not for years. They watched in horror as their Soviet network collapsed. Agents vanished. Missions failed. Operations went silent. And no one could explain why. An internal mole hunt began, codenamed Nightmover. But they looked everywhere, except at Aldrich Ames. He was part of the investigation team. He read the reports. He watched his colleagues try to piece together the puzzle. And every time they got close, he simply adjusted. It was a perfect betrayal. Psychological warfare. The betrayal of Aldrich Ames wasn't just logistical, it was emotional. He had shattered the illusion of internal loyalty. He had made it clear, anyone could be bought. And worst of all, he used the CIA's own tools, systems, and trust against itself. FBI and CIA agents became paranoid. Every colleague, every phone call, every delay became a suspicion. The culture of collaboration turned into a culture of fear. And Ames. He smiled. He cashed Soviet checks. And he continued passing secrets, year after year. The world beyond Langley, meanwhile, Moscow celebrated. Thanks to Ames, they had dozens of US operations dismantled, informants eliminated, decades of intelligence strategies laid bare, a psychological edge over American counterintelligence. In effect, Aldrich Ames had paralyzed America's reach into the Soviet Union, just as the Cold War was reaching its boiling point. But every spy makes a mistake. And Ames was no exception. Ending scene, fade to black. Quiet music builds tension. For now, Aldrich Ames remains untouchable. But signs of suspicion are starting to stir. His lifestyle doesn't match his salary. Colleagues begin to whisper. A quiet investigation begins. And soon, the most damaging spy in US history will find himself being watched.